Something has been watching you, not a ghost, not a monster hiding in the dark. Something far worse. Something patient, something quiet, something that sat close enough to learn your face, your voice, the way you laugh, and then decided to use all of it. Tonight, 3 stories. 3 different people who noticed something was wrong. Too late. A security camera that kept recording a man who wasn't there. A roommate who stopped seeing the person he lived with. A neighbor who learned an entire woman, down to the last detail. 3 stories. One thing in common. Whatever came back, it wasn't them. The security camera recorded me arriving at 7:14 p.m. I was still at work. It recorded me again at 9:03 p.m. I was asleep on the couch. The third time, the figure in the footage turned and looked directly at the lens. I didn't sleep for 3 days. My name doesn't matter. What matters is what happened in the apartment I rented on the 4th floor of a building that smelled like wet cardboard and someone's old cooking. I was 26 working night shifts at a data center, coming home at odd hours when the city felt hollow and the street lights flickered like they were dying. The doorbell camera was new. I installed it myself. A small black dome with a red LED that blinked when it was recording. I wanted to know who was coming to my door. I wanted to feel safe. The first footage I saw was Thursday. 7:14 p.m. The timestamp glowed in the corner of the screen. I was standing on my own porch, wearing my work jacket, the one with the gray stripe across the shoulder. My face was turned slightly to the left. I blinked. The figure on the screen blinked. I wasn't at home. I was at the data center, sitting in my chair, watching the same feed on my phone. I stared at the screen for 20 minutes. The figure didn't move. It just stood there, hands at its seats, head tilted slightly, like it was waiting for something. Then, at 7:16 p.m., it turned, not toward the door, toward the camera. The red LED on the doorbell was still blinking. The figure was still on the screen. But I was still at work. I called my landlord. He said nobody had been to my door that day. He said the camera was glitching. He said I should try resetting it. I didn't reset it. I watched the next footage. Saturday, 9:03 p.m., same jacket, same face, same blink. This time the figure walked to the door. It stopped. It lifted its hand. It didn't knock. It just pressed its palm against the wood and held it there. I was asleep on my couch, I know, because I set my phone to record me while I slept. I watched that video later. I was on the couch, my eyes were closed, my breathing was slow. I didn't move. The figure on the doorbell feed didn't move either. It just stood there, palm against the door for 12 minutes. Then it turned again, toward the camera, toward me. The third time was Sunday, 11:47 p.m. This time the figure was closer. It was right in front of the lens. I could see its eyes. They were wrong, not the shape, not the color, just wrong. Like they were looking at me from somewhere else. Like they remembered something I didn't. It turned its head, slowly, and it looked directly into the camera. And I knew it wasn't trying to get in, it was trying to get out. I packed my bag that night. I didn't sleep. I drove to a hotel 3 hours away. I told myself I was crazy. I told myself the camera was broken. I told myself I was tired. 3 days later, I went back. The apartment was empty. The door was open. The camera was still on the porch, still blinking. I walked inside. The floor was cold. The air was still. I checked the feed. The last footage was from 11:49 p.m. The figure was gone. The porch was empty, but the timestamp was wrong. It said 11:49 a.m. I left. I didn't go back. I sold the apartment. I told the new owner the camera was broken. I told him to take it off. He didn't. 6 months later, I got an email, a photo, the doorbell camera still on the porch, the red LED blinking, and the figure standing in there. Same jacket, same face, same blink. But this time it was holding something, a key. My roommate doesn't acknowledge me, and I think I know why. The first time it happened, I didn't notice. I came home from work, dropped my bag on the counter and said, "Hey, you're home early." Jesse didn't answer. He was sitting at the table staring at his phone. His face was blank, not angry, not distracted, just empty. I said it again. Jesse. He looked up. His eyes went past me, like he was looking at something standing next to me, like he was looking through me. Sorry, he said. What? I told him what I said. He nodded. He said, yeah, I'm home early. He didn't say my name. He never said my name again. 2 weeks passed. I started noticing things. He didn't look at me when we talked. He didn't ask me questions. He didn't laugh at my jokes. He didn't eat when I ate. He didn't move when I moved. I asked him if he was depressed. He said he was fine. He said he was just tired. I stopped asking. Then I started watching him. I'd come home early and sit in the dark watching him from the hallway. He'd be in the kitchen, making coffee. He'd be in the living room watching TV. He'd be in his room, sitting on the bed, staring at the wall. But he never looked at the camera. I had a camera in the living room. I didn't tell him. I wanted to know what he was doing when I wasn't there. I wanted to know if he was okay. The footage was weird. He'd be in the kitchen. He'd pour coffee. He'd sit down. He'd stare at the wall. But sometimes he'd stop. He'd turn his head, slowly, like he was listening to something. And then he'd look directly at the camera, not at the lens, behind it, like he was looking at me even when I wasn't there. I watched the footage for 3 hours. I didn't sleep. The next morning I asked him about it. Did you know there's a camera in the living room? He said no. He said it like he didn't care, like he didn't remember. I showed him the footage. He watched it. He didn't say anything. Then he looked at me. His eyes went past me again, like he was looking at something behind me. There's someone else here, he said. I laughed. I said, what? He didn't laugh. He said, there's someone else in this apartment, and they're not you. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the living room watching the door. I waited for someone to come in. Nothing happened. But the next morning, Jesse was gone. His room was empty. His bag was gone. His clothes were gone. His phone was on the table. I called him. He didn't answer. I called his mom. She said he hadn't been home for 2 weeks. She said he left her a message. She said he was moving. I didn't know what to do. I called the police. They said there was no report. They said he was an adult. They said he could leave. I waited. 3 days, 5 days, a week. Then I got a text from Jesse. It said, I'm not your roommate. I called him. He didn't answer. I called his mom again. She said he hadn't been home. She said he wasn't responding. I didn't know what to do. I sat in the living room. I watched the camera. The footage was from 3:14 a.m. Jesse was in the kitchen. He was making coffee. He was staring at the wall. Then he stopped. He turned his head. Slowly, he looked directly at the camera, not at the lens, behind it, like he was looking at me, even when I wasn't there. I left the apartment that night. I didn't go back. I sold my things. I moved to a different city. 3 months later, I got a call from Jesse's mom. She said he came home. She said he was okay. She said he apologized. She said he said, I'm not your roommate. I didn't call him back. I don't know if he's real. I don't know if I'm real, but I know one thing. He's still in that apartment, and he's still looking. My neighbor moved in 11 months ago. He was quiet. He kept his yard clean. He didn't talk to anyone. I didn't think much of him. Then I heard my wife's laugh coming from his kitchen. At the exact moment she was asleep next to me. I woke up. I sat there. I listened. The laugh was real. It was her laugh, the one she made when she was happy, the one she made when I told her something stupid, the one she made when we were together. I got out of bed. I walked to the window. I looked down. His kitchen was lit. The window was open. I could see inside. A woman was there. She was wearing my wife's dress, the blue one with the white flowers. She was standing at the counter. She was making coffee. She turned, she looked up, she looked at me. Her face was my wife's face, but it wasn't. Her eyes were wrong. Not the shape, not the color, just wrong. Like they were looking at me from somewhere else. like they remembered something I didn't. I called my wife. She was asleep. She didn't answer. I called again. She woke up. She said, "What?" I said, "Are you okay?" She said, "Yeah, I'm fine." I said, "Where are you?" She said, "In bed, with you." I looked at her. She was asleep. Her eyes were closed. Her breathing was slow. I looked back at the window. The woman was gone. The kitchen was empty. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the living room. I watched the door. The next morning, I talked to my wife. I told her what I saw. She said I was crazy. She said I was tired. She said I needed to rest. I didn't rest. I watched the neighbor. He didn't talk to anyone. He didn't leave his house. He didn't answer when I called his name. But sometimes I'd see him standing at the window, looking at me. His face was blank, not angry, not scared, just empty, like he was waiting for something. 3 weeks passed. I started noticing things. My wife would say things I didn't say. She'd laugh at jokes I didn't make. She'd remember things I didn't remember. I asked her about it. She said she was just guessing. She said she was just trying. She said she was just being nice. I stopped asking. Then I started watching her. I'd come home early and sit in the dark, watching her from the hallway. She'd be in the kitchen, making coffee. She'd be in the living room watching TV. She'd be in her room, sitting on the bed, staring at the wall. But she never looked at the camera. I had a camera in the living room. I didn't tell her. I wanted to know what she was doing when I wasn't there. I wanted to know if she was okay. The footage was weird. She'd be in the kitchen. She'd pour coffee. She'd sit down. She'd stare at the wall. But sometimes she'd stop. She'd turn her head, slowly, like she was listening to something. And then she'd look directly at the camera, not at the lens, behind it, like she was looking at me even when I wasn't there. I watched the footage for 3 hours. I didn't sleep. The next morning, I asked her about it. "Did you know there's a camera in the living room?" She said, "No." She said it like she didn't care, like she didn't remember. I showed her the footage. She watched it. She didn't say anything. Then she looked at me. Her eyes went past me again, like she was looking at something behind me. "There's someone else here," she said. I laughed. I said, "What?" She didn't laugh. She said, "There's someone else in this house, and they're not you." I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the living room watching the door. I waited for someone to come in. Nothing happened, but the next morning, she was gone. Her room was empty. Her bag was gone. Her clothes were gone. Her phone was on the table. I called her. She didn't answer. I called her mom. She said she hadn't been home for 2 weeks. She said she left her a message. She said she was moving. I didn't know what to do. I called the police. They said there was no report. They said she was an adult. They said she could leave. I waited. 3 days, 5 days, a week. Then I got a text from my wife. It said, "I'm not your wife." I called her. She didn't answer. I called her mom again. She said she hadn't been home. She said she wasn't responding. I didn't know what to do. I sat in the living room. I watched the camera. The footage was from 3:14 a.m. She was in the kitchen. She was making coffee. She was staring at the wall. Then she stopped. She turned her head. Slowly, she looked directly at the camera, not at the lens, behind it, like she was looking at me, even when I wasn't there. I left the house that night. I didn't go back. I sold my things. I moved to a different city. 3 months later, I got a call from my wife's mom. She said she came home. She said she was okay. She said she apologized. She said, "I'm not your wife." I didn't call her back. I don't know if she's real. I don't know if I'm real, but I know one thing. She's still in that house, and she's still learning. The security camera still records me, sometimes, at 3:14 a.m., and sometimes the figure turns and looks and awaits for me to come home. This has been Whisper Dread Studios. Some stories were never meant to be told, but we told them anyway.